Have you ever wondered how the settings in your camera can drastically change your photos? In this video, we're diving into a crucial concept in photography and discovering what's meant by a stop of light. We'll explore how shutter speed, aperture and ISO settings play a significant role in controlling the light that reaches your camera sensor. By the end of the video, you have a solid grasp of those key concepts and how they can elevate your photography skills. In this video, we're going to break down the essential components of exposure in photography and how those elements work together to create stunning images. Understanding how to manipulate light is key to becoming a better photographer, whether you're shooting outdoors in bright sunshine or indoors in low light. Plus, if you can stay until the end, I'll share 3 bonus tips aimed at enhancing your photography skills using the knowledge we'll be going through today, so that every photo you take is as good as it can be. Let's start with the basics. What do we mean by a stop of light? Essentially, a stop is a measurement that describes the doubling or halving of the amount of light coming through the lens and onto your camera sensor. It's a fundamental unit of measurement for exposure, and it's through 3 main settings: aperture, shutter speed and ISO, that we control this light. Let's start with aperture. Think of aperture as the window to your camera sensor. The larger the window, or the lower the F number, the more light comes in through your lens and onto the sensor. For example, an aperture of f2.8 lets in a lot of light, while f16 allows less light through. When you open your aperture, you're increasing the stops of light, helping to brighten your images. Closing it down reduces light, increasing the depth of field, but also making pictures darker. Changing the aperture by 1 stop means doubling or halving the opening in the lens. For example, going from f4 to f2.8 increases the amount of light by 1 stop, therefore doubling it. When going from f4 to f5.6, it decreases by 1 stop, thereby halving it. So if you want to let more light in for a brighter image, lower your f-stop. If it's too bright, raise it to limit the light. Next, let's look at shutter speed. Shutter speed is like the camera's eyelid. A fast shutter speed, like 1/1000th of a second, quickly blocks light, which is great for capturing fast-moving subjects, but it gives you less light overall. On the other hand, a slower shutter speed, like 1 second, keeps the shutter curtain open longer, allowing more light in, creating a brighter image, but also risking motion blur if the subject or camera moves. You may, of course, want to intensely have movement or motion blur for artistic effect. Adjusting your shutter speed can either brighten or darken your photos dramatically. Adjusting the shutter speed by 1 stop means doubling or halving the amount of time the sensor is exposed to light. For example, changing from 1/100th of a second to 1/50th of a second increases exposure by 1 stop and letting in twice as much light, while going from 1/100th of a second to 1/200th of a second decreases exposure by 1 stop and letting in half as much light. The third element we need to consider is ISO. ISO measures the camera sensor's sensitivity to light. A low ISO, like 100, works well in bright conditions, but might not be sensitive enough in low light. Adjusting to a higher ISO, like 1600, makes the sensor more sensitive, allowing you to shoot in lower light conditions. But be aware, higher ISO settings can also introduce noise or grain to your images, so it's a balancing act or a compromise, so to speak. Personally, I would rather choose a high ISO if it otherwise meant not being able to get the shot. Modern cameras are getting better and better at handling high ISO settings, so that's good news for us. Again, adjusting ISO by 1 stop means doubling or halving the sensor's sensitivity. For instance, increasing ISO from 100 to 200 makes the image 1 stop brighter, while decreasing from 400 to 200 makes it 1 stop darker. So now that you understand these 3 elements, keep in mind that they all work together to create your desired exposure. Adjusting one will often require you to tweak another to maintain the same level of brightness in your photo. As you may know, this is known as the exposure triangle. Aperture, shutter speed and ISO can be adjusted independently or in combination to get the exposure you want, while maintaining creative control over depth of field, motion blur and image noise. Now, before I share those bonus tips I promised you, after the video, why not grab your copy of my ebook, The 3 Essential Pillars of Good Photography. You can get it by signing up to my newsletter. It's completely free and there's a link for you in the description below. Now, for those of you still with me, here are 3 extra tips to help improve your photography skills using the concepts we've discussed. Try using fast shutter speeds to capture moving objects like sports or wildlife. Conversely, use slower shutter speeds for creative effects such as light trails or capturing motion blur. Practicing your craft is an important part of developing your photography skills, and we sometimes overlook that. And anyway, you never know what you might discover. Play with wide apertures like f1.8 for portrait photography. This creates a beautiful background blur known as bokeh while keeping your subject in sharp focus, making your photos more aesthetically pleasing. This has the effect of bringing your subject off the background and making the image all about them, which is exactly what we want. When using slow shutter speeds, a tripod keeps your camera steady to prevent motion blur, allowing you to capture crisp, clear images even in dim lighting. However, if there's movement in your scene, you'll have to decide whether you're okay with some motion blur that slow shutter speeds produce. And as with most things, you'll probably have to find a compromise between your shutter speed, aperture, and your ISO. By understanding how a stop of light interacts with these 3 settings, you can take control of your camera and create superb images in any given situation. If you've got something from this video, please like, share and subscribe for more photography tips and techniques like this one. It really helps others like you find my channel. Take care, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.